Elam Jat Niranjan Ramkar Omkar Sohang Satnam Alak Purusha Alaya Purusha Hukikat Purusha Agam Purusha Anami Purusha Sugmad Akshar. Are they the same? Are they near or far? So, we continue with for the soul plane. Sing Sat Nam, which means true name. The Eckist would say that this is the fifth plane, dividing plane, and the first truly spiritual world. Wouldn't listing the physical, astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes below that make it the sixth? With the terms they're described in, I would not necessarily agree that anything listed as below the 11th plane, or the Sugmad world, is not mixed with matter. The descriptions of deeper and deeper yellows till one reaches the soul plane, or Atmalok, where you hear the single note of a flute, seems so psychedelic or even purely physical in nature. You know, our throats are a flute. Such goes with the whole descent of sounds after many realms of and beyond Akshar realization. The music of God, the music of the universe, hue are the sound of a whirlpool, the music of woodwinds, 1,000 violins, deep humming are just a humming sound, heavy winds are just a wind, a single note of a flute, buzzing bees, running water, tinkling bells, the roar of the sea, and thunder do not seem metaphysical at all. Neither does green, pink, orange, blue, purple, yellow, white, and black seem like supernatural colors to me. After dawn, on Thursday the 22nd, I fell asleep to being bathed in a deep yellow light. For the invisible plane, chant Alak Lok. Alak Lok? Alak Lok. Alak Lok, our invisible plane, is listed as the sixth plane, where one is supposed to hear heavy wind and see a softer yellow than the deep yellow of the soul plane. Why can't God give you dreams and take you places without a Mahanta or intermediary being, which is also the word for Mithra, by the way. Mithra, intermediary is what the word means. Not in the discourse. I would think you are to be given the ability to experience such things on one's own with God's permission. The 23rd of the 7th month of 1435 and the 20th of the 5th month of 1436 dreams. After dawn, on Friday the 23rd of May, 2014, I saw a light yellow and heard the wind outside. The 7th through 10th hour of the 20th of the 7th month, of 1436 are between 1:17 and 5:40 a.m. of Wednesday, the 11th of March, 2015, was the last performance of this ritual for this stage of context from the Discourses. I felt myself floating away. An electric blue came over me, and my voice became like deep gusts of wind. I was in a peculiar air. I could see, yet couldn't see anything. Then I was in a soft yellow fog that seemed to dance to the drone of the wind. I went through a layer that was like very soft flesh. Beneath me, it felt as if I was walking on water, but I couldn't see it. The constant feeling upon me was as if I was being misted upon, like the weather we used to have for months every year in the northwestern United States. When I finally saw an object, I saw a tetrahedron-shaped area that seemed to have bright colored lights. All of its 6 edges were about 9 feet in length. The left quarter was a rich green. The right quarter was of a deep blue. The front quarter was of a red that had a glow, much like burning embers. The top quarter was a light yellow. Whenever I stepped into an area, a scene came without a sight or sound. I initially entered into the green region. The scene and thought was of a world map, with people standing on the area of the map most fitting to their physical type. Now, some people have had dreams of this sort of, oh, this must mean the shape of the world is really flat or concave or something, or just because maps exist in those shapes or globes doesn't mean, it's like the world's not perfectly spherical. Just because we have a globe doesn't mean the world is completely, perfectly spherical or anything like that. Vary the map most fitting to their physical type. Okay, while standing in the tetrahedron-shaped space, I moved to the blue area without entering the yellow. The scene that was sensed was of a hidden person grabbing random things as they went by. I went into the red area without entering the yellow. The scenes that moved my spirit were of martyrs dying for a good cause. I was happy at this because I had a sense of their ultimate success. I entered into yellow, floating up till I was no longer in the red, blue, and green at the same time. I felt very heady. The scene that I was aware of was like a head and a giant scalloped shell writing things in chalk upon sculptures. I felt a deep sinking as all these things went away. I was left in the dark with a feeling of satiety. An electric blue went over me in the direction my feet were from my forehead as I lay flat. This happened repeatedly with a strong analgesia. I felt a slow, blissful pulsing all over till around 6:06 a.m. Interpreting the dreams of the 23rd of the 7th month of 1435 and the 20th of the 5th month of 1436. One can interpret the dream of May 23rd, 2014 as a selective remembering of the color and sound that is attributed to the 6th plane on the Eckankar God's World chart. Now, you'll see I have translated and annotated and thrown in a couple questions to this, and more. There's more information than you'll find on any one chart, so I made sure that. The first interpretation of the dream of March 11th, 2015, shared here, will be the way I think a typical Eckist would explain them. Here, that would center on the Mahanta taking me to and from the main temple of the invisible sphere. There, at Alak Lok, they would say, I went to the Tamanata Gop temple to meet the Sokag Empo Ekmaster Tamo Geshig. Eckankar would want you to believe that I sense the message of the Shariat Ki Sugmad. The Eckankar Bible has 2 outer volumes and an alleged 10 more on the inner planes. While we were surrounded by the Ekmasters Haritita, Hippolito, Vaioli, and Chu Ko Yen. Tiger's Fang, an unmatched spiritual journey to the astral, causal, mental, and soul planes, and into the heart of God itself by Paul Twitchell, gives a similar account of the fifth heaven in terms of mist, gold dancing fog, a velvety feel to a layer gone through, invisible things, silent communication, and a strange atmosphere. I felt no presences except my own. All the themes and experiences in and around my dream amount to psychedelic matters that I have already experienced before on an individual basis. It would be no better to interpret the whole thing as an understanding of the concepts that underlie such things rather than to say, I went to a supernatural heavenly realm of pure spirit. Astrological interpretations of my dream of the 20th of the 5th month of 1436 seemed like a better place to start with most people. The scene of the center point of the tetrahedron was as the constellation sculptor are the sculptor. Its meanings here are in the altering or covering up of invented things being done by a symbol of the birth of what is healthy in a detached sort of manner. Innovation is not a sin in Islam as long as it is not changing to the rules of what is allowed and forbidden, as well as if a matter is required, recommended, or voluntary. Prophet Muhammad said, any new thing which is not a part of the system of judgment will not be acceptable and will be thrown back upon him. It should go without saying to note that anything good and true is automatically Islamic, whether or not the person who does or thinks it is Muslim. The scenes, because of what the word means, the scenes in the front corner was the constellation Phoenix, or the Firebird. Its meanings here were as self-sacrifice, resulting in a flourishing immortality. The scene of the right quadrant was as the constellation Tucana, or the Toucan. Its meanings here were as being withdrawn and taking risks whenever one comes out to obtain material things. The scene of the left area was as the constellation Gras, or the crane. Its symbolism here is as the pedigree of humanity. The dance of the soft yellow mist can also be seen as the constellation Gras, representing a crane's exotic dance, with longevity being in how the wind gusts just keep going on, as did the mist. The whole series of events can be seen as some of the symbolism of Aquarius, or the water bearer. Here, that is how it was in the context of a water experience, in which I rejoiced upon what flowed. At times things were a gamble. Then it might be fitting to put parts of the dream through the symbolism of the tarot. The Venusian symbolism of the Nine of Cups can be seen in the happiness contained in the dream. Its Plutonian meanings can be seen in that the four scenes were but fragments of the issues. That may also be seen in the originality of the sculptor. The Ten of Cups, mercurial symbolism, can be said to be in the satiety as the dream ended. Its lunar symbolism of wellspring can be seen in the feeling of water beneath me and in the overflowing of emotions at times. The tetrahedron is the Pythagorean solid for the element of fire. It can be seen as representing energy and disruption. Being in yellow may just represent the fact that we are in the warming quarter of the solar year, in the northern hemisphere. It may also mean that the will is to be spiritualized. Further, it may convey that enjoyable states may need disrupted at times in order to grow, know, struggle in God's way, and to reflect on purely spiritual realities. The blue in, blue out is as a symbol of the intellect. It indicated that no experience is devoid of needing interpretation. The wind may be better seen as how no experience is recalled in this life without some loss of information, than as the sound of the fifth heaven. Without loss. Okay, where was I? Sorry, I got lost for a second. The walking on water is as being connected to the mind and emotions, but taking matters into a higher place. The fleshy layer can be seen to represent the delicate nature of the physical forms. I should be cautious about them as I live a spiritual life that has more than temporal effects. For the nameless plane chant, Anami Lock. Anami Lock. Okay. How is there several other planes between the sixth world and the Anami Lock? Are the 10th world, when only the Alei Lock, or the endless world, or Hokikat Lock, our highest state soul generally reaches, and Agam Lock, our inaccessible plane, are listed. That seems just a few. This hierarchy of God as the same God makes more sense when thought of as going into the ocean of love and mercy and realizing Akshar. One can't go beyond Sugmad, our God as a noun. One may rather think of God one way versus another in another state. The idea of a 10th world or having no name sphere here reconciles the mention of its sound as hue and the sound of a whirlpool by having the sound echo out of the whirlpool. The place is described as white, but not the ocean of love and mercy. And we have, because hue, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah. The 11th plane, but the 10th, the 10th heaven it's called. But not as the ocean of love and mercy. There, souls are created. Oh, where souls are created. That place, which is called the 13th plane and beyond, the 13th heaven, I guess, is said to be closer to God. from the 25th of the 7th month, 1435, and the 1st of the 6th month of 1436. After dusk on Saturday, the 24th of May, 2014, I saw a white haze. I performed my last session of this rite between 3:40 and 5:14 a.m. on Sunday, the 22nd of March, 2015, are the 9th and 10th hours of the night of the 1st of the 6th month of 1436. I had been seeing peacock colors when I went to sleep to this ritual. Sometimes this spiritual exercise would leave me waking up hearing "Hugh" said once or more. That night, I likewise fell asleep, seeing myself surrounded by a rich green interlaced with a rainbow of colors. The difference was the euphoric tingling and melting feelings that accompanied it. Then I saw myself in a bright white place where the surfaces were like angel food cake without the crust. In the middle of this world was a whirlpool, spinning at tremendous speed. There was a fuzzy white sphere in the sky. It was much larger in the sky than our sun is at our sky. I cast different shaped pieces with the symbols of the Goetia, Goetia, however you prefer to say that, for the period of Aquarius are numbers 69 through 72, 1 and 2, into the whirlpool. The sound of hue spiraled above it. The first sigillium was gray. The remaining sigilia were blue, light green, red with dark green dots, yellow, and dark green. On the first was assigned to have mastery over Decarbia. Then came those to banish Sira, Dantalion, Andromalius, Baal, Agaris, and their legions. I likewise tossed the parallel sigilia from the Shem Ha-Mafarash, are numbers 69 through 72, 1 and 2, into the whirlpool. These 6 were large tin coins. After these 12 were cast forth into the whirlpool, the bright white sphere turned an even brighter turquoise. I followed the sound of "Hugh," God is it, spiraling upwards above me, till I realized that I was moving upwards into the vortex above the whirlpool and the fuzzy turquoise sphere at the same time, which, if you saw my other, I've made it turquoise sphere into a thing. Apparently I had to use the whole kit just to make that right color, but anyways, I made a turquoise hue thing. And it says Eck on it too. I thought, spiral until I realized, and upward in the vortex above the whirlpool and the fuzzy turquoise sphere at the same time. Okay, there's a. I found myself in a deep, clear blackness. I was there with 3 groups of blue sapphire cups, 2 cups before me, 10 to my right, and 9 to my left. The darkness was as everything other than me and God, and as nothing at once. Tremendous breathing sounds were heard, and I pulsed with warmth and a sense of power. I awoke, with my heart racing, and felt far more rested than my sleep hours for that day and those before it would have left me. Interpreting the dream of the 25th of the 7th month of 1435 and the 1st of the 6th month of 1436. One can interpret the dream of May 25th, 2014 as a selective remembering of The color attributed to the 10th plane are ninth heaven on the Eckankar God's World chart. One can interpret the dream of March 21st, 2015 as a projection of the Eckankar sights and sounds of the Namulok, our nameless sphere, and the 10th and our 11th heaven, all the while not accepting their system of interpretations and beliefs as authoritative. The Eckankar interpretation may also be that I attained Akshar realization in one of the many planes past the Sugmad world, and Sugmad after becoming one with God. One in the sense of thinking and acting submissively to the will of God, but it would probably be best to interpret it as being entirely psychedelic, as it seemed to have no elements that Rudolf Otto would have definitely called Ganz andere, wholly other, truly metaphysical. Andir? Ganz Andir, is that how you say it? It was certainly paranormal, though. The experience parallels that found in Paul Twitchell's The Tiger Fang, an unmatched spiritual journey to the astral, causal, mental, and soul planes, and into the heart of God itself. The differences include not feeling like I was God, and that the spiraling upward sounds were of hue rather than breathing. The Eckist interpretation of the breathing was that it was the voice of God, but it might be better to say it was my own breathing, remembered, in an altered state. The hue spiraled off the vortex above, while the discourse said it bounced off the whirlpool. The whole thing represented some achievement in the visual sense and going beyond that. Okay, let's finish this work this week here. The whirlpool can be said to represent the past. The vortex can be said to represent the future. The darkness shows how it is virtually unknown. This combined with the sphere is as living an intellectual life that is just as spiritual. The interpretation of the colors of the symbols of evoking and invoking can be, I cast forth lunar, jovial, Venusian, Martian, with Venusian aspects, solar, and more Venusian renunciations, and as many aspirations of fixed water. All 12 were under the 12th of the year attributed to Aquarius, like a month. You know, Aquarius for March, and then Pisces for April, and then Aries for May, Taurus for June, Gemini for July, Cancer, August, September, Leo, October, Virgo, Libra, November, Scorpio, December, Sagittarius, January, and February would be Capricorn. But these aren't exactly quite the same. It's like they're all 30 or 31 day segments if you divide into 12, right? Or you take the heliacal rising and, you know, some are half a month, some are a month and a half, and Aquarius is way over, Aquarius overlaps into Pisces and into Capricorn, and but anyways. The astrological interpretation includes the Aquarian themes of cupbearer, service, flowing, and exchanging. The accounts of Aquarius can be seen in the dream as original and happiness, revelation or inspiration, and satiety, and suppression, oppression, and love. As the place was white and gentle, so do I intend to dwell in this body in ways that are best for its operators, which is connecting to God and creation. Some spiritual laws start off in the unseen as original revelation or inspiration and manifest in the seen worlds beyond suppression and oppression. Then, with love before me, satiety to my right, and happiness to my left, I went with the star as the cupbearer of Ek. Here it means God as verb. R, the Holy Spirit, Gabriel. R, what is spiritual? Into the darkness that was like everything aside from me, the 21 cups and God, while being as nothing at the same time. And the holy words and workbook activities will be the final comments here. Barak Bashad. So you can see the right gesture. Barak Bashad. May the blessings be. And he would often rotate counterclockwise, but go Ek yourself.